All right, everyone. So this week we're going to be focusing on chapter three, visual design. And the reason why I selected this chapter was for a couple of different reasons. Based on feedback that I've received from students in previous semesters, but also based on the assignments that I have graded and reviewed over previous semesters, it has been brought to my attention that some people haven't, whether in school or on the job, haven't been told on the rules and what it means to create like a visually appealing document, whether that's a report, a letter, memo, whatever it may be. Some people haven't been told on how many fonts you can use within a document. Which types of fonts should you select? Font sizing, headers, line spacing, white space. A lot of people haven't been taught this in school or on the job. So I just thought this would be an important chapter to go over, especially at the beginning of the semester. It will help you set the foundation as we go into projects one and two. And I always try to remind everyone at the beginning of each video, even though we will be reviewing this chapter, I'll be posting the videos, the slides. I will try to pull, I think, the most key information from each chapter. You still are responsible to review this chapter on your own as well. You can use this as a guide to help you navigate through each chapter, see which information I didn't review, and you can review that information. But you are still responsible for reading the chapter because you might need to reference it later on in the semester. You might be quizzed on it later on. Just be aware that you are still responsible for this. Visual design, that's kind of a broad term, but I kind of go into why this chapter, if my PowerPoint will work. There it goes. So, just like writing organization is important, good visual design can help your readers find the information that they need, but also can help keep your readers engaged. But another reason why I think that having a visually appealing document is important is because it adds to your credibility. Let's say you are working on some type of project, whatever that might be, a letter, email, mass email to employees, a formal report, whatever that may be, and you submit it, but there's typos, uh, different styles of font. Line spacing is a little wonky, huge blocks of paragraphs. It doesn't look good. It reads as confusing. That diminishes your credibility because you're supposed to be the expert on this topic. You're writing it, you're giving it to people, you're the expert. But if it looks like a mess, people are going to assume, oh, do they know what is this? Are they know what they're talking about? Is this legit? It diminishes your credibility. Visual design, I kind of mentioned, is kind of like a broad term, but this just refers to creating clear, readable, visually interesting documents. And you can use page design, white space, lists, font choice, graphic design. All of this is under the umbrella of visual design. And many corporations, companies actually understand the benefits of visual imaging, especially as you get into public companies. They branding is everything. So there are certain colors you can only use, certain fonts you can only use. But for the most part, most companies should have a style sheet for frequently used documents, including like letters and memos. So just always ask if you are responsible to draft something. Always ask if there's a previous example. Can't hurt. So the first thing we want to talk about is white space. So white space in a way can attract attention. It can guide your readers to important information on the page. It can also help give your readers a break. It pretty much the textbook says relieves the boredom of reading text. If you just see lines and lines and lines stretch all across the page, it looks kind of crazy. But if you have breaks, your margins are aligned, there's white space, you focus on the middle of the page, it reads like, oh, okay, I can do this. It's very manageable. And it also can help your readers organize that information. So, how do you use your white space? You can use the following to your advantage: margins. Most readers appreciate a generous use of white space around the edges of text, so marginal space tends to frame your document. And I'll have an example in the next slide. It'll frame your document so the text does not appear to push the boundaries of the page. Hanging indents, this can be headers, subheaders. This forces the reader's eye and attention to the text. So if they see a header, they're like, oh, this is important. They focus on that. Another common use of like hanging indents is like bulleted and numbered lists. In a few slides, we will be going over kind of like the ins and the outs of like bulleted and numbered lists, but pretty much the rules of making a list. Line spacing, when choosing single, double, or an inch and a half line space, consider the document's formality. Letters, memos, short reports, or any other documents that can be read in one setting are usually single spaced. Longer documents, for example, projects 1 and 2, they are usually going to be an inch and a half or double space, sometimes with extra space between the paragraphs. So it just depends on what you are working on. Paragraphs, it is incredibly helpful to break complex information into shorter paragraphs. Most readers tend to skip very long paragraphs. So, depending on what you're writing and how it's being organized, try to avoid putting more than 10 lines in one paragraph. I'll also have a visual example of that in a couple of slides. So this I just found off the internet. I thought this was a great example because this is just a works cited page, but you can see what I mean by use of white space, headings, indents. As you can see, your margins are set up. And most Word documents, they're already set up, so you don't have to worry about that. But as you can see, like your text is in the middle of the page. Your margins aren't so wide, so the text is also wide as well. It's structured right in the middle. Your sentence, you see that there's indents within, like for example, Buchanan White, you'll see that the indents are aligned. Line spacing, I believe this is doubled space. It looks clean, organized. You have a subheader you have a header at the top. It just looks clean and organized. And this helps readers stay focused and just stay organized. This slide, as you can see, is about the importance of breaking up your paragraph. So as you can see on the left, like just one long paragraph, no one wants to read that. I'm not going to read that. If you, probably a tip, if you submit me something like that, I'm probably going to ding you right off the bat because I'm like, what's going on? Why couldn't you break this up? As you can see on the right, good short paragraphs improve the readability. And also, not only improves readability, but it can also help your readers. Because remember, we've talked about your audience, your readers, they're going to have a lot of noise going on in the background, a lot of things going on. This helps them stay organized. You submit something and your reader's like, okay, I only have 10 minutes before my next meeting. I can read the first 3 paragraphs and then I'll start off with paragraph 4. You can't do that with one long paragraph, but broken into short paragraphs, it keeps them organized and focused. And actually, this will be a good spot to take a break right here. So I'm going to pause because coming up on kind of like the 10-minute mark. So let's go ahead and end here. We only have a few more slides after this, but like I said, I'm trying to break up my videos. I'm not trying to go over 10 or 15 minutes. So this is the end of part 1. We will pick off with part 2. We're going to pick off here. You can just go on into the second one if you don't mind, or you want to take a break, go grab a snack, maybe go to your next class, whatever that may be. We're going to pause here and then continue on with part 2. So I'll see you in the next video.